Yeah, that's good. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
and Robbo.
Streaming across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight, and David Robinson.
Ben, Rob and Robbo. News, reviews, entertainment news. It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo. Ben, Rob and Robbo. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. I'm joined by the two fabulous people, Ben Norris and David Robinson. Hello, gentlemen. Ben, how are you today?
I'm actually really well. I've just been chatting to Mamma Mia, which it was really kind of them to call and ask about my relationship with you, to which I was kind of joking about. I was like, I wonder if your wife Amanda has a restraining order against me because I'm obsessed with you.
Oh, goodness me. Well, okay, that's a little bit weird, freaky, but also endearing. So I'm not sure what I make of that. Robbo, how's your day going? Who's asked you about me today?
Well, look, no one has, Rob, and that kind of sounds like that guy who used to go after Jodie Foster when he would write her letters in the late 70s with the cut-out letters from the magazines. I'm a little bit concerned about that. Mamma Mia, though, I've spent a bit of time with ABBA this morning, so assuming that's who we're talking about?
Mamma Mia, don't make me sing, actually, that's a terrible idea.
And can I just
Cut
say,
his mic,
Robbo,
please, for goodness sake, cut his mic, yep.
Can I just say you are looking very handsome with the clean shave today?
I don't like it at all. I don't like it. You know, this is my my caveman masculine kind of mask, and you've taken it off me. It's also the mask that shows that I haven't been doing much exercise and eating a lot of burgers. So, yeah, I need to get a lot of shine under there. Yes,
You're
thank you,
looking
Rob.
fabulous. Stop talking yourself down, which you always do. Let's get into our hot topics today. We have Evie Jones coming up a bit later, and Sam Dastiari is going to cut through some political spin. But meanwhile, it's a new day, which means it's a new issue for the NRL. The bosses of rugby league have issued a code-wide instruction for everyone to get the flu jab ahead of the season beginning shortly. The sport is obviously concerned in this current climate and wants to be seen to be doing as much as they can. But not all players are on board. Titans player Bryce Cartwright, who is an outspoken anti-vaxxer, has said he won't do it. But the NRL has suggested it's compulsory and any player who refuses will need to speak to the head doctor. Ben, is it his right to refuse an injection?
I kind of feel like it is his right. I don't think that the league should have come down on him so hard. I know that we have this discussion every year at home, and Ben and I have stopped having the flu vaccine. So, like, we're not actually doing it. However, just recently when we said that to a friend of ours whose sister is a nurse, he was horrified. But let me just quickly draw this, though. I don't want people to think I'm anti-vaccine. I'm just a little bit, like, not sure with the flu vaccine. Is that okay? And then you're gone. So I'll just keep talking about the flu vaccine.
Well, Ben, no. What I've got to say is I kind of disagree with you there. I think that if the NRL is paying your wage and they're paying thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to all of these players, if that's part of their employment and if that's part of what this needs to be in this new world, I think it's okay for them to demand that they have the vaccine. They are saying that it's compulsory, but you can speak to the head doctor. But I really think, though, if you're getting paid this much money, you're in a very full-on contact sport, then I think it's well within the rights of the NRL, especially in this new day and age of COVID-19 and beyond, that they are expected to, do the right thing, and that is get a flu vaccination.
I don't know. I don't agree with you. Like, do you think that, let's just say you're getting paid $1 million to do the Ben, Rob and Robbo show. You're not, and neither is anyone. But let's just say that you are getting paid big money. Do you think that means that they have the right to choose whether or not you have the vaccine for the flu? Like, it's the flu vaccine. Come on.
No, 100%. So when I was a reporter on Studio 10, if I'm out all the time visiting people and meeting people, my job is to be out there with the people. So if it's in the company's right mind to want to protect that and go, well, we need a reporter out there as part of your employment, and we're paying you, certainly not $1 million, but we're paying you a lot of money. Not even a lot of money, what am I saying? I work for Channel 10. I don't know what I'm trying to get away with there. But I think it's okay, though, for a company to go, look, you are at a high risk. And we're paying you a wage, then you need to protect yourself and we need to protect you. Because remember, all NRL players, they are they're an asset really to the clubs and also to the greater code. So I think it's okay for them to say, look, in order for us to
I
keep
disagree.
everyone safe, you need to do this.
Well, here's the thing.
I disagree.
The NRL is trying to bring the competition back early, May 28, I believe it is, and they need people to be they basically need people to be healthy. And these stars are getting paid a lot of money, and there are rights. There are absolutely rights, and you don't have to take the jab. But if you don't take the jab and take every precaution, maybe you don't get to play, and you don't get the money that this sport gives you, which is a lot of money. Let's be clear here. NRL stars get paid a lot of money to run around and chase that ball. So if you don't want to play by the rules of the NRL, then maybe, just maybe, you can walk away and not do it. But no jab, no play is the famous line. So maybe that's just what it has to be.
Yep. I agree entirely, Rob.
I disagree.
All right, moving on. And let's try to pierce the so-called Canberra bubble now. And one of our most famous immigrant politicians is saying we need to limit immigration. New South Wales Senator Christina Keneally, who was born in the United States, believes that post-pandemic Australia needs to reassess how many people we take in from different countries. The Australian has gone hard on the senator, saying that she's wrong, a hypocrite, and should change her position. This is really interesting. I feel like, Robbo, that I'm in a topsy-turvy world because the Australians saying yes to immigration, Christina Keneally, a Labor senator, is saying no. But as an immigrant, is she not entitled to have an opinion on this issue because she came in as an immigrant?
Look, she certainly can have an opinion, and it is a topsy-turvy world when the News Corp is going against what someone is saying about immigration. You're exactly right there. The thing we've got to remember, though, is that there is a lot of jobs that Australians don't want to do. And that is fact. A lot of Australians don't want to do the cleaning jobs. They don't want to do
I think this is a very good point.
The lower end of the jobs. So to then sit there, especially from a Labor politician, to say that, you're taking jobs away from Australians, these are jobs that Australians don't want. And remember, I'm going to say something that might not be, really believed here, but Australia essentially is fairly racist. So if an Australian was going for a job that a foreigner was going for, you could probably bet the Australian was going to get the job anyway if they wanted it. But like I said, there are many, many, many jobs that Australians simply don't want to do.
I with you there, Robbo. I think there is still a degree of racism in this country, and there is racism everywhere. But I actually believe Australia has come a long way, and we are accepting of different cultures, and we are a multicultural society. You walk around any suburb, and you don't just see the traditional white Caucasian Australian. I think we live in a completely different world to the one that I think you're referring to be honest.
No, you're completely naive to the fact. I mean, come on, hang on a sec. Let me say something here. I get where you're coming from, Rob, and I love the idea that we are a multicultural society. But let me tell you, a friend of mine posted on Facebook last week, just a normal Asian family living in a suburban part of Melbourne, and someone's come along and spray painted the most racist slur on their garage in big block writing. We have a long way to go. We can't just sit there and say, we've come a long way. We need to recognize that we have a long way to go. There's a lot of people in this country that are very disrespectful to other races, and we need to put a magnifying glass on that, and we need to find out why. We need to talk about why people feel that they are better than anyone else, considering that white people came to Australia and did the most appalling thing of all. Like, this is a long discussion.
We know that, but we can't just continue to live in the atrocities of the past, and they were atrocities. We have to come to 2020 right now and say, where are we as a nation? And I think we have come a long way, and I think to just have a blatant Australia is racist scenario devalues the people living in the suburbs who are living in a multicultural society. And I'm not saying racism doesn't exist in this country. It exists in America. It exists in the UK. Racism exists. But I have a little bit more hope and faith in the people out there living everyday life with people from different cultures. And, it works. We're in a melting pot.
Well, you could be living on a wish and a prayer, as far as I'm concerned, thinking that that's a normal thing to say, but I'm just telling you that for me, I'm an Australian, I'm a privileged person, and I can recognize that amongst my friends and amongst the people here in this country, there's still so much racist behavior going on. It's not good enough to say that it has gotten better. It's about you and I having these discussions and acknowledging the reality of it. It's not you and I having a discussion and you saying, oh, come on, but we've come a long way. Like, we need to start talking about why people are racist, put that onto a little 60-minute special and have people have their eyes on that. Let's think about why we think we can talk like that.
I guess where I'm coming from is I don't think you can just put aside the fact we've come a long way because, you know, a society just doesn't change overnight. So these are generational issues. These are changing attitudes over time. It's like climate change. Let's be honest. Every kid growing up now believes in climate change. But we've got older Australians who, especially people in the media, that don't believe in climate change, and that's why it's still a political issue. Attitudes change over time and change with generations, and that's why I feel validated in saying we have come a long way.
Well, look, sorry, I thought that we were going to be done with the conversation, but it's a big conversation to have. I think we've got a long way to go. And, you know, the reality is that I've got friends that have been looked over for jobs in their industry based on their race. And that's a reality. And you know what's really interesting about bringing that up?
You've got first-hand evidence. I'm absolutely not going to dispute that.
100%, but 100% I do. I have a multicultural selection of friends, and I've talked to them about their lives. And you know what? Sometimes I feel like you. Sometimes I've been a little bit naive to the fact, and I will go on a weekend away and talk about what happens to these people, and I'm horrified. I'm horrified to think it's 2020, and that friends of mine who are highly intelligent, highly educated, born in Australia, are being treated any differently. You know, it's just, it's not good enough.
I agree with that, and I hear what you're saying. Thank you. All right, let's move on. And I want to pause for a moment to try and process these astronomical numbers. 186 million kilometres, almost 6,000 homes, 1 billion, that's 1 billion animals dead, and 34 human lives lost. They're the numbers from Australia's horror Black Summer bushfires of 2019 and 2020. Australians dug deep into their pockets, wallets and purses to donate to many appeals. But a huge sum of the money hasn't made its way to those who need it most. Robbo, we donate, then find out the money isn't getting through. What's happening?
It's a pretty bad case of affairs, isn't it? Because the wonderful thing about Australia, and it has been so for many, many decades, is that people will dig deep when their fellow Australians are in trouble. This story first kind of reared its, well, I'm going to say ugly head very early on when it was, released the fact that some charities would be taking some money for administration. And I mean some money in being millions and millions of dollars. On the other hand, though, they've also got to fight the fact that there are bots. So there are actually international bots who are trying to claim money. There are also fraudulent claims here in Australia, which is a big problem as well. Like, that's the kind of side that we don't see. So there are many people who are doing the right thing. There are also many people who are not doing the right thing, and they've got to spend money to try and weed that out to make sure that the people who do require it need it. We should say right now, we did approach the media from the Australian Red Cross, but we had no response when we were going to discuss this issue.
Fair enough. I think it's interesting. I feel like the bushfires it was such an impact on our lives at the time it was all happening, but it's fallen away now. Interestingly, when I was in the States, there were even hotels I was staying at over January that were collecting money for our appeals to help the bushfire funds. Americans were really across what was going on. I was surprised at how across they were. But we do face this issue, and we've seen it with the Red Cross, where they're collecting the millions of dollars and saying, well, not all of that's going to bushfire funds. We will give this money away as we see it. Ben, do we face a problem that we have short-term memories and we move on to the next thing? Like, we're obviously in the grips of coronavirus. Is that our focus now, and we've sort of forgotten about the impact of the bushfires?
I don't think we should forget about the impact of the bushfires, and I don't think anyone will.
Have we forgotten?
No, I don't think people have forgotten, to be honest with you. I mean, a huge thing has happened next, but I do believe that when people are donating their money, that what cause they're donating their money for should be separated and spent that way. I don't think it's really fair for corporations to ask for money in a very particular time for a very particular need and for them to choose how that money is going to be spent elsewhere. I understand that there is administration. I understand that there is things to pay for. But when it comes to a specific thing like what happened in this country with bushfires, I think it is disgusting to see that money being spent in huge places in other areas. It disturbs me.
I think you've raised a really valid point. And Robbo, this is probably what you were trying to talk to the media section of the Red Cross about. Why, when you're donating for a specific cause, can't it go to that cause?
Well, I'm assuming, and I thought this when the story first broke earlier in the year, that there must be some T's and C's. Now, when you're giving to charity, you don't really worry about the T's and C's, but there must be some kind of terms and conditions that says, you can donate $20 to our bushfire appeal, but we will decide how much of that $20 go to the bushfire, or it goes to earthquakes in Peru, or it goes to volcanic eruptions in New Zealand. That must be in there. But I think that that's really taking advantage of people's goodwill. If they want to do it to those very important, events and issues, that's fine. But I think you're right. Even if America is noticing that Australia is on fire and are trying to take donations, I think that's a really important kind of message to note there, that if we want to donate to bushfires and help the people, down in Gippsland and all across New South Wales and really all the states of Australia, then we should know that that $20 is going to be funneled into the bushfires.
Look, it's a really interesting point because I have no problem that if they get $20 million and $15 million goes to the bushfire appeal and it's all that money has done everything that's needed. People have been looked after, houses have been rebuilt, and they've got $5 million left over. I have no problems with it going to other causes. Absolutely fine. It's just a very bizarre situation to be collecting, using the bushfire tragedy as a way of collecting money and then not using it on that tragedy. And the other thing that gets my goat while we're on the subject of charities is when you're going through shopping centres, not that it's happening at the moment, of course, and people come up to you trying to get you to sign up with your bank card, with your credit card and bank details to a charity. And at no point do they disclose that they're actually getting paid to go and get you to sign up. It's not 100% of your dollar going to the charity. Not only do you have administration fees going out of the charity, but also the person on the street asking you to sign up is getting paid per hour to get you to sign up. And I think there needs to be more disclosure. It's the first question I ask people when they're trying to harass me to get me to sign up to charities. I can't stand it. And that's my rant for today. Hey, look, as we go to air this afternoon, a report is making its way around media and government circles regarding the ABC. A report by Get Up Australia and Per Capita says the national broadcaster has lost almost $800 million due to budget cuts and desperately needs a $100 million injection. Now, the other issue related to this is the fact that the media is now criticising stars from the ABC for daring to ask for more money during a pandemic. Robbo, what do you think here? Has the media got it right? It was News Corp Press today that were having a go at ABC stars for daring to ask for money. Is there such thing as bad timing?
Wait, what? Sorry, I'm just taking on board what you just said. Was it the News Corp Press who had to go at the ABC? Shocked me, blow me over with a feather. What a piece of rubbish journalism. This is the problem. So many Murdoch Press newspapers have closed, especially in regional and country Australia. The only way that they can get news is through the ABC. Now, I've got to state that I work for the ABC and I loved my time there. This is the point. When there's a natural disaster, when there is a massive issue, the ABC is there. They've got radio stations right across Australia in many of the jurisdictions that News Corp have decided to pull out because there's not enough money there. This is classic Murdoch Press rubbish.
Well, look, there
Absolute
are culture wars
rubbish.
between News Corp and the ABC. There is no doubt about that. But the thing is, people are, at the moment, out of work. There are a lot of people struggling during this pandemic. Ben, it's not the greatest time for ABC supporters to be asking for more money, surely.
No, it's really not. But I mean, at the end of the day, there are still people out there earning money. And I guess you know, we have to recognise that. Maybe it's not a question for me, actually. Maybe it's a question for Ida Buttrose, and we need to get her back in here to give her thoughts on exactly what she thinks about it, because I'm pretty sure with her being at the forefront of it, she would have a lot more to say than I do.
But look,
when there are bushfires, when there are floods, when there are massive events, people can only turn to, in a lot of these regional areas, they can only turn to ABC local radio, and that is important. So they're not asking for more money for themselves, they're asking for money to come back in. So they've lost almost $800 million because the coalition governments in the past, and including this one, don't like the fact that the ABC, which is essentially a government-funded organisation, has pot shots at them and calls them to account. They don't like that. They kind of want to go for the China system or the North Korea system.
Okay,
it's
Robert.
not right. But no, that's true though. But the Murdoch press can't have a go at the ABC when the ABC are the ones that are there. They're the most trusted news source in the nation.
Press. We're not in China, so the Murdoch press is able to have a go on their opinions and say what they think.
I don't understand how the Murdoch press can keep a straight face when they say that, you know, we're really great and we're giving you the news, blah, 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 blah. But we'll pull out of all regional markets that can't pay for us, and then we'll have a go at...
There's so many different issues you're bringing up, and let's go through that. Of course they pulled out. We are in a pandemic that is costing, and a weak advertising market that is costing. So we face the problem that commercial companies can't survive in this market the way it is. So they've made a commercial decision. That is why we have the ABC to not make commercial decisions and be in areas that are government funded. But here's the thing, Robbo, I would argue with you. I think there has been a lot of wastage at the ABC over the years. I have seen some of the resources they have. We've both worked in commercial television, and we have seen how commercial TV does things compared to the ABC. And we all know that come the end of the financial year, if they haven't spent their allocated budget, they'll go and buy cameras and all this kind of stuff so that they don't get their budget reduced in the following year. So it is a very public service mindset. Now, what I love about ITA being there and about the change of management that we've got at the ABC is I think they're taking the costs seriously. We're seeing a lot more co-productions with the ABC. We're seeing smarter, during this crisis, all travelling has been pulled back, and I think that's saving them a lot of money, and I think they're looking for smarter ways. But I think there has always been some fat that can be trimmed from the ABC, and yes, I'm sorry that people lose their jobs. I hate that, because I would love to see the television industry thrive. But I think the ABC needs to do things more like the commercial networks in some aspects to compete with. You don't need 5 people in a crew when 1 or 2 people will do that. There is an abundance of people at the ABC that I think some trimming of the fat is a good thing.
Firstly, Robbie, if I can say, have you got a glass of water there? For goodness sake, have a quick drink, please. I'm worried about your voice there. You've done a lot of ranting today, and that can take its toll on the vocal cords. A big glass of water there for you, please. Hopefully, it's the kind of water that Alan Jones drinks. Now, the thing, I just want to say this one last thing to you. I take your point entirely, but the thing is, I really believe that the ABC is worth its weight in gold, and it's better for the country than anything that the Murdoch press puts out.
But I don't think this is the argument, and we'll wrap this up now because we are starting to go around in circles. There's absolutely room for both. My point is, I think the Murdoch press has a point when now is not the time to be talking about ABC funding. Even the management at ABC aren't planting a flag in the ground saying we need more funding. They understand we're in a crisis, and they're doing their bit to try and rein back costs but still provide great services, and the ABC do provide great services. No one would ever argue with that. All right.
And no one did.
I thought we were wrapping up. Yes.
We were told to be quiet, and we did.
Well, look, we've all seen The Chaser, the worldwide hit game show, but recently a contestant slipped up with a question. Hannah, the first single player ever to reach the final round, stuffed up an answer about geography. Host Bradley Walsh asked the hopeful contestant, what Caribbean country is the athlete Asifa Powell from? Looking very sheepish, she faced Walsh and replied, Africa? If her answer wasn't bad enough, when Hannah is not appearing on television, she works as a teacher. One educator didn't hold back on Twitter, labelling her answer disgraceful. But that got us thinking.
How embarrassing.
What has been our most embarrassing moments on TV? Robbo, what was yours?
Look, I've got to say, I've made a career out of just being like a bit of a numpty and clumsy and just, you know, a bit of a dick, really. Sorry. Can we say that? No, we can't. No, we can't. A bit of a willy. Let's say willy. I've been a bit of a doodle. And I've created a career out of that. But there was one time we were doing live crosses from a viewer's house on Studio 10, and I revealed a little too much behind a toga. Have a look.
Here quickly to you. How masculine. I make a toga look masculine.
Sorry, Robbo, what are you wearing? Just a sheet?
What am I wearing today? Is it just a traditional Greek toga?
You're wearing a 1,000-count beautiful rug sheet, darling.
I don't know if you can say that this early in the morning there, Dottie. Can you say that?
I can, because I am one.
Yeah, okay, right.
I think Dottie can say
Beautiful
anything.
work. Look, yeah, I'm going to get out. I don't think we should go on that angle there. Just push that down a little.
You should see the back.
Turn around, Robbo. Turn around.
Okay, that's
Turn around.
No, you don't want to.
Okay, everyone. Dottie, inside. Dottie, inside, Dottie.
Dottie,
inside.
I think that's an Irish coffee. Robbo, we'll see you soon.
I'm going to check that coffee, Natasha Belling. I'm going to make sure it's something weird in there. All right, I'll see you later.
Stay with that shot. Turn around.
The door's locked.
Oh, Robbo, I love having you here,
yeah.
but geez, I miss you as an on-the-road reporter.
Oh, bless you. I appreciate that. One of the most embarrassing things there was they Kmart undies. But that's fine, you know, alpha.
I love cheap undies. Cheap undies are sexy.
What about you, Ben?
Oh, look, pretty much any time I'm ever on television is what's otherwise known as pretty embarrassing. But I will probably have to go back to a moment on Big Brother where I needed a haircut. And so I asked my friend on the show whether or not she could cut my hair. Now, what she didn't realize was that someone had actually been shaving their pubic region and had set the shaver down to 0. And they then had shaved the side of my head down to 0, which is obviously the dream result for their pubic region, but not the dream result for my head. And I ended up looking like Simple Jack from, the very famous comedy from Tropic Thunder, I think Simple Jack is from. But as you can see in this clip, I look horrified, and rightfully so. Rob, are you going to help me out here? Are you going to help me out? Have you got an embarrassing...
Unlike you two, I'm not a television professional, but I have had a few moments during my years on the television. I think one of mine was when I was trying to prove that you can't succumb to what's the word I'm looking for, Robert? When you believe in something like Friday, don't break a mirror. Superstitions, that's the word I'm looking for.
Okay, yeah.
And I said, I had this big thing about not believing in superstitions. So I walked onto the Studio 10 set and I broke a mirror. And then this happened. I fell on my bum. I got glass all up my pants. I I fell over, and then I got sacked from the show. So it was setting me bad luck.
Oh, my God. Why were you wearing those
Have you
glasses,
broken any mirrors?
Why was I wearing the goggles, did you say?
Yes.
Oh, for safety. Safety first, Robbo. Safety first.
So you deliberately broke the mirror? That's right, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a deliberate act because I wanted to prove that superstitions don't believe in them. And I wonder whether I should change my mind on that stance, to be honest.
You really should.
Yeah, do you stick to that
really
point?
should.
Although the journey has led me here and there is nowhere else I would rather be. So there we go. Anyway, it's
that a lot
time to
hard?
get the latest news hits. They were fabulous to see. We're bringing in Aaron Young at the Ticker News We're bringing in Yaron Young at the Ticker newsroom. Ticker TV.
Thank God we're not live.
Ticker. I feel like a robot on repeat. Ticker. It was like Ben yesterday.
Please let us hear him, though. I'm scared. Can we hear him?
Save him.
Say something,
You know
Aaron.
what I was scared of?
Put his sound on.
I was so scared of the fact that I was saying Twitter because I did that the other day and I didn't want to say. And then I went, "Is it Twitter
did.
Ticker?" I got confused. Aaron, my full apologies. Have you got the news headlines for us?
Me, that would
And
be
his sound
Let's start
is
with
not
the
on.
news headlines today.
1 million jobs have been lost in Australia over recent weeks with an 8.2% drop. The rate of job loss has risen alongside the tightening of restrictions announced by the PM, progressively implemented from March the 22nd. Are you ready for a cruise? Carnival Corporation, which owns the formerly virus-ridden Ruby Princess and Diamond Princess ships, has announced it is planning to gradually recommence cruising from August. The company's cruise liners have been out of action since March. Kia ora. Speaking of cruising, New Zealand PM Jacinda Ardern says a trans-Tasman bubble permitting two-way travel between Australia and New Zealand would ideally not involve mandatory quarantine at either side or either end, saying it would defeat the purpose of the scheme. Today in our Twitter poll, of course, we're asking you, are you ready for a holiday and would you head to New Zealand if that bubble is allowed? Head to our Ticker Twitter page, I can say it, to vote. While the pussy's away, the mice will play, and now allegations China and Russia are making the most of the COVID-19 lockdown to forward their interests in Europe. The US Defence Secretary taking a swipe at the two countries, describing Chinese efforts to promote Huawei mobile phone network equipment as malign. Qantas revealing it's borrowed another $500 million to extend and stand down more than 25,000 staff and existing domestic flight cancellations until the end of June. Still no idea whether any flights will resume to international destinations anytime before August. Let's have a look at the weather map now. Finally, the sun poking through for us in Melbourne after some pretty dreadful wintry days. Melbourne a top of 19 degrees, Sydney overcast 21, Brisbane sunny and 25, Perth 22 degrees, and Adelaide a top of 21 degrees. Let's have a look at the local market now. Australia's oil and gas companies leading market gains in early trade after further improvements in crude prices overnight. That's it, you're up to date. You are watching Ticker. You can catch Ticker Newsroom 2 p.m. with Alana McLean right here on Ticker. And also, guys, we've all been kind of calling out our favourite COVIDiots, as we're calling them, people who've done crazy things that do not make any sense. Like, for example, or anything that I've just watched in the 5 minutes before I came on. But let's have a look now at a great COVIDiot.
So this girl's coming in with her mask on. You all need to see this.
Hey, Joe, look at this ghetto.
Hello. How you doing?
Pretty good. I need 10 on pump one, please.
Where'd you get that mask from?
Well, since we have to wear them, it makes it harder to breathe. This makes it a lot easier to breathe.
Cutting it? Yeah, I'll do that too. Thanks for the advice. Appreciate you.
No, she's got it right. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Who wins? Who had the craziest thing? Was it Rob?
Well, from my perspective, well, I think that the superstition China, my grandma accidentally broke a mirror years ago, and I always think that we always have bad luck because of it, and I'm never one to be superstitious. But I had to ask the question, I was thinking to myself, Ben, for you, had they kind of cleaned the Clippers before they had gone from the
that's what I'm wondering.
Region with a 0?
No. No, they had not.
It's all hair, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's a smell that no one's going to make a candle from. That's what I'm going to tell you.
All right, Aaron.
If there's a smell there, then they need to wash more.
Aaron, we look forward to getting more news from you this time tomorrow from the Ticker Newsroom. Thank you very much, my friend.
Bye, Aaron.
All right, it's time to cut through the political spin with former Federal Senator Sam Dastyari. Hello, Sam. Thank you for being with us today.
Good to be back. How are you? The show seems like it's going very well.
We're going very, very well. Now, where are you looking at today, Sam? Because you're always looking at... There you go. That's where we are, Sam.
I'm normally just looking at you, Rob. I'm just looking at you. You're the centre of attention.
Can I say, Sam, Sam, I'm very impressed with your ring light because we can see it popping in your beautiful eyes.
I know. It's quite... Look, I try and make sure I get my makeup right. It's for my foundation. Got to get that balance. Got to get the levels right.
All right, we'll talk about that
You look fabulous,
Sam. Yeah.
All right, to get to some serious news, let's focus on the Eden Monaro by-election. Is this an important by-election, Sam?
Yeah, huge, and it's unexpected and it's big. So there goes that light. But it's huge, it's unexpected, and it's big, right? Hang on, let me just fix that. So look, here we go.
We're live, Sam. We're live.
I love it. Yeah,
we're live.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So Eden Monaro used to be known as the bellwether seat. It was this seat up until the last federal election. It would always be, last two federal elections. It was always a seat that went the way the government went. the demographics of that area has changed. So for those who don't know, it's a New South Wales federal seat, but it goes all the way from the coast and out Bega right across to the outer suburbs of Canberra. And what used to be a very, very marginal seat now tends to be a Labor seat, simply because that the outskirts of Canberra, which are technically now in New South Wales in a place called Queanbeyan, right, has this huge public service voting bloc, and they tend to break Labor. So Labor holds the seat. The very popular local MP is retiring. He's got a whole series of health issues that he has to go deal with. And it's the last thing, to be honest, the Labor Party could conceivably have wanted was a by-election in this environment right now. But Labor will be running the mayor of Bega. But look, the Conservatives at the moment, there's a bit of a fight between the Liberals and the Nationals about who's going to run for the seat. But it looks like it may end up being the New South Wales State Transport Minister, Andrew Constance, and he's a formidable member of Parliament.
He is.
Wait, sorry, Sam. I've got to ask you.
Federal politics.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, Sam. But he said that he was going to resign. He was over politics, and surprise, surprise, he's going to keep going.
Yeah, there's a funny thing about ambition and opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
It's
like surprised.
It's like when Rob McKnight says, "I'll never return to commercial television. I'm done. I'm finished." I'll never go back to politics. You say these things and you mean them when you say them.
Well, look, Sam.
When I was watching that, though, I saw that Andrew Constance was saying, he's over politics. He's done with it all. Yeah. And I just remember saying to all of my family, going, "This is absolute rubbish. This is just kind of grabbing onto what was happening now."
So yeah. For those who don't know, so Andrew Constance, state member of Parliament down towards Bega Way, when the fires happened, he got quite emotional and he got really into it, and I think he was quite a community champion at the time, and he's a very good member of Parliament. And yeah, at that time was talking about how there's no future in politics, and I hate the divisiveness of politics, and if only we could all come together, and in about 3 weeks we'll be running attack ads.
Kelly got a little emotional when talking about his family at the press conference, Sam. Let's take a look at that moment.
As I'm going through these issues, which can be managed, and I can move into, other contributions in other ways, other employment, but not in a job like this. But also, my wife is going through some health issues herself and has procedures in front of her, as I have procedures more to come in front of me, which results in weeks at a time of not being able to be on the road. But I need to be in a position to better support her through those procedures as well. And just on that, I'm talking about the family. I know a lot of politicians say that the family are conscripts and we're volunteers in this, but that would be really doing my family a disservice. Every decision that we have made about what I'm doing was done around the kitchen table. And they have always been willing servants of the nation as well. As a lot of people out there in that defence family situation will understand all of those sacrifices, all of that pain that they go through. And it was... a lot of tough times through that. So thank you for your love and support through all that, and we'll now move on to prioritise them.
Besides the media, the cameras whirling as soon as he starts getting emotional, what impact does public life have on a politician, Sam? You've been through...
look, it's probably the most... It's an incredibly selfish job. It really is in some ways. And what I mean by that is, on one level, you can justify it to yourself always that, you're doing it for the community, you're doing it because of what you believe, you're doing it because of your policy. But the reality is your family are the ones that end up paying the price. And when I say it's an incredibly selfish decision to make, it is that they will only ever get the downside and rarely ever any of the upside. Being a family member of a member of Parliament is just a horrible place to be. And the reality is, I think a lot of people think they understand it and know they understand it until you're in that circumstance. But again, I mean, to compare it to a world that you'd also be familiar with as well. In television, I think it's not that different in some ways, in that it's all great when everything's going good, right? When you're on top of the world, you're winning in the ratings, whatever happens, all fantastic. But that one time you get drunk driving down the street or something, inappropriate, but there's even degrees of inappropriateness in life. The disproportionate kickback and kick you get for that it destroys families. It doesn't destroy my marriage.
Well,
I mean,
that's the
big
point.
effect.
You went through something very high profile. The media were after you. The other side of politics were after you. And what was the strain? What was it like when you're behind the scenes trying to deal with that? Because you're trying to manage, I imagine, on two fronts. You're trying to manage the public side, but also the family side, because your family is getting caught up in something that they've had nothing to do with in a way.
Yeah. Look, I mean, massively. I mean, we had that whole kind of, cameras parked out in the front of the house for 2 weeks thing, which again is not, you have that in sports, you have that in media, you obviously have that in politics, and they're just kind of baying for your blood. And I tell you what actually happens. At the time, it's always okay, right? Because you're running off so much adrenaline. And there's so much fear, and in the middle of a crisis or a scandal or whatever it is, that point in time is actually always fine because you're just so caught up in it. But it's that quiet about 2 weeks later, and when all the cameras and them go, that's when you actually see the real damage to relationships and that of that kind of pressure. In the moment, mate, you're fight and flight, right? Everyone around you is fight and flight. So they're always fine during then. But it's kind of, when the cameras have gone and it's a month later and you realise, oh, wow, that's when the real wreckage sets.
I get
Yeah, I don't know. Rob, can I say something? Yeah, I kind of understand where you're coming from, but I get really sick of politicians or people in the entertainment industry or anyone for that matter who has a job that they start saying is really difficult or more difficult than one or another. Like, there's many different Australians out there that struggle with their jobs regardless of whether or not they have a media profile or not. How do you manage to gauge what's harder to deal with? Like, I mean, it's your choice to be in the media when you are a politician, and it's my choice to be. Sure, but how do you gauge that, and what do you say to people who are struggling in their roles without being, in the media?
Yeah, look. What I'd say to that is, and you're right, it's your choice. I think the point that I was making, and I think it was the point that Mike was making as well, is look, I actually, I don't. Let's take Carl Stefanovic or someone for example, right? I mean, I think Carl's a top bloke himself, but he chooses to do things. He chooses to be in the media. He chooses to have a media profile. You get what comes with that. That's the reality of modern media. We're all mature enough to know how it really works. It's the kids and the family who didn't make that decision. And what the point I was making is what ends up being a fairly selfish decision at times is people who go into politics not probably realizing what it does to their families. Now, on your other point, and the bigger point, which is, I mean, don't get me wrong, it comes with a lot of perks, right? You come with, if fame and attention and adulation wasn't so addictive, it wouldn't be so attractive. I think what happens is people get into these kinds of businesses only thinking of the upside and actually not thinking of the downside of what all those consequences are. That being said, mate, you're right. Is it better to be a politician on $200,000 a year, doing a bit of media here and there and maybe having to cop a story if you've put a foot wrong? Is that, in my case and many other cases, way better and a much more privileged life than most people are able to have. But there is this kind of slightly other side that I think, I don't know, I don't think people quite understand that not all of it's always going to be good.
Sure.
Wrapping now, but we've got to ask you a very important question that we ask a lot of people, and that is, Sam, what are you having for your tea tonight?
I am for dinner.
Yeah.
No, tea.
Something real.
For your tea tonight. That's Australian. Your tea tonight.
Who used the word tea? It's like a British colony thing, right? I'm actually, it's my daughter's 9th birthday party, and this is what a wanker I am. Yes,
happy birthday.
I am cooking vegan burgers.
No, okay, we've lost Sam there. We've lost Sam. We've lost Sam Dastiari. He's not going to appear on the show anymore, unfortunately, because he's cooking vegan burgers. We wish him all the best, and all of our thoughts and prayers are with your 9-year-old.
Vegan birthday. I will say Sam doesn't need real meat because he has so much energy anyway. He's like, If you ever have a conversation with Sam, it goes, you need a diagram to follow the train of thought. But Sam, I love you.
I was coming back anyway. You don't have to be so nice.
Indeed. We will see you
I have
next
nothing
week.
else to do. At 1:30 on a Tuesday, this is the best option I have available. Don't worry about that.
That's very sad. Sam, we will see you next week. We love you. And thank you for cutting through the political spin.
Thank you. Bye.
It's the red light shot of the day. Where are you going today? You never know where you'll end up with the random light shine of the day.
And today, we are taking you to Mount Diablo on Santa Cruz. It's been a mostly dry day as the sun goes down with a low of 12 degrees and a massive high of just 14 degrees. Let's take a look at some of the feedback coming through to the Ben, Robin, Robbo show. And we have Leonardo, who was very pleased to get his feedback on the show yesterday. Yes, it's a danger to the other player's health if he doesn't. That's in regards to the NRL player who won't get the flu jab. The poor guy, it's hard to watch. He's so... I don't know what Beck's trying to say there, but anyway. Carlotta has chimed in. Better with the light out, Sam. Lyndon has let us know that our Ticker TV cross was very quiet. She's talking, Lyndon, is talking about Aaron Young there, so we will fix that up tomorrow. Yes, Robbo?
I've got to say quickly, the hashtag there is BBR. I'm looking for BRR.
Yes, we need
has Ben taken over the hashtag? he's let you go.
Meanwhile, Beck says, I would like money to go towards community TV, i.e. West TV or Community Radio 107.3 HFM. I was involved in HFM for a number of years. Nice work, Beck. All right, let's move on because it is time for the entertainment report with Ben.
And here we go for Tuesday's entertainment. I feel like every day we need to have a special segment called Joe Exotic and his news headlines, but he's back in the media because we've been talking about this for a while. As soon as the Netflix series Tiger King came out, everyone was like, who is going to be in the movie? Someone's going to have to make a movie. And last night, it was officially announced we have Nicolas Cage. So Nicolas Cage is going to take on the Joe Exotic role. It's yet to be seen, you know, how many other famous and recognizable faces are going to take on some of these roles. But to say that we have an Oscar winner, whether you like Nicolas Cage or not, is pretty impressive. Turns out he has beaten a few people for the role. He's beaten out Edward Norton as one, Dax, who I only ever remember him for being married to Kristen Bell. But anyway, I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a 6-part series, and when it comes out, I think it's going to do big business. I think it'll be great. Also making entertainment news. Yeah, also making entertainment news is Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Now, they have a book that's about to come out. And this book, it has the entire royal family nervous. Obviously, there's lots of scandal, I think, that they could talk about. But look, I think the Queen's probably just worried about how much they're going to divulge in this new biography. The biography is called Finding Freedom, and it will reveal their true story. You can actually start to pre-order this book. What do you reckon, Robbo? You interested in more info on Harry and Meghan?
No, I've got to say, Ben, I'm really not at all. But I can't help but think that she's tearing apart the wonderful Windsors, and I'm a big believer in that. She just wanted to be a princess quickly, and then she wanted to make money off it. That's my thoughts. Quote me on that. I just hit my mic.
Well, I think it's interesting. It is. I think it is really interesting that you say that because, you know, the popularity for Harry, which is always very high, has plummeted. So a lot of people talking about whether or not Meghan's had a very negative effect on him. Anyway, I'm going to be interested. I love a good audio book, so I'll put that with Malcolm Turnbull's book that I've still got to listen to. In other news, Pia Miranda was talking about 20 years ago on the Today Show yesterday, she was talking about being in the film Looking for Alibrandi, which is one of my favourite films. I love this Australian film. I like a lot of Australian films, to be honest with you. But it was really interesting to get some feedback on what happened behind the scenes. Now, there was a scene that she talked about on the Today Show where she was on a motorcycle where she had to look, you know, all excited. And, you know, in actual fact, she was on the back of a trailer because Kit Gurry, who was the actor in the film with her, didn't actually have a motorcycle license. So she said people were driving along past her and making fun of them and saying really nasty things to the two of them because they looked ridiculous as they went through some of the iconic parts of of Sydney. But the interesting story I have for you is someone very famous stopped Kit Gurry on the street and was happy to tell him what he thought. Now, I've got a clip of that.
When the movie came out, I was living in a street in Sydney, and one of the other residents of the street was Tom Cruise, and I filed my teeth down for a movie that I was doing with Rachel Ward, where I was in a prison, and I'd gotten a Porto's burger and had chili all over my face. I was walking back to my apartment, and suddenly Tom was steamrolling down the street. He was like, "Kid!" and he'd seen the film the night before in a theatre in Sydney, and.
I just think it's amazing. I think it was great that he enjoyed I love the Tom Cruise while he was here in Australia, obviously married to Nicole Kidman at the time, went and saw Looking for Ella Brandy, and you can just, I don't know, I got Tom Cruise feels as soon as Kick was like, Kick! Anyway, if you haven't seen Looking for Ella Brandy, it is celebrating its 20th anniversary this week, so maybe check it out. Also, though, huge news for Twilight fans. If you're a big fan of the Twilight series, if you thought that those books had come to an end, if you thought the films had come to an end, well, not exactly. We had the author coming out yesterday on an American talk show to talk about a new book, which is going to be a prequel. Now we have a clip of the author talking about that right now.
My name is Stephanie Meyer, and I am very excited to finally announced the release of Midnight Sun on August 4th. It's a crazy time right now, and I wasn't sure if it was the right time to put this book out, but some of you have been waiting for just so long. It didn't seem fair to make you wait anymore.
See whether or not those lead actors come back into those title roles. But it is going to be a prequel, so with it being a prequel, maybe they don't necessarily need to have those actors coming back. It was a very popular series and very popular book series, I would say. So interesting to see so many authors at the moment worried about releasing books through this COVID-19, especially seeing as people have so much free time. I thought, you know, why not release these books? Wouldn't they be being downloaded and bought more? It seems a little bit outrageous.
Indeed. I think people will be very pleased to have them back. And Ben, your entertainment reports are always full of good knowledge, so thank you very much for that. We'll have another entertainment report from Ben tomorrow. But Ben, stay where you are. Don't do anything because you have a special guest joining us now.
Absolutely. Now, for those people out there who love Australian television and love Gogglebox and love I'm a Celebrity and love one of our most recognisable faces right across television at the moment, we've got Evie Jones joining us. Evie, are you there?
Are you?
Looking fabulous as always.
Do I? I actually washed my hair because, you know, who needs to do that in ISO? But I did it for you, my love, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're so happy to have you for a bit of a chat. Now, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I want to say to you, if you want to veto one of these questions, you're allowed maybe one veto. Hopefully we don't veto any of them, but...
Well, you never know, but you're very lucky because I am an open book. I will probably answer absolutely anything and may even say things that you don't want to hear.
Excellent.
Fabulous. I love an exclusive. So I want to ask you, when Gogglebox... When Gogglebox first came onto the scene, what did you think about the idea of that show? Like, what did you originally think it was going to be? Do you think it was going to be a success?
No. When I heard it, I was like so many other people that have said since, like, that just sounded like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I really did think, no one's going to watch this. This is going to be my opportunity to kind of have a go at TV and just... like if no one watches it, it'll be fun. It'll be have something to show the children if I ever have any. But when it took off, we were all not surprised because we'd kind of seen it and went, oh, this is really well done. The reason I even did it was watched a couple of episodes of the English one, and I thought, that's really good. If it's going to be like that, we're in. And the executive producer, David McDonald, said, yeah, we're doing it exactly the same, but with Australian kind of humour. We've got a lot more, less whinge in ours. A lot of people say, I agree with that. In the English one, there's a lot more moaning. We've got a lot more, you know, Aussie larrikin, which of course we would have.
What do you think the success is of that show? Like, why do you think it's a success back then, and do you think it's just as successful now?
Yeah, I thought it would have a shelf life, to be honest, because all shows do, but it is just the little engine that could. I think it's going to go forever. They can change the cast, they can keep some of the cast. I think it works simply because of the relatability. It works in each country, although there's a lot of countries watching other countries' Gogglebox and enjoying them just as much, because you get to see a wide range of people that you realise are not that different to you. And the majority of us have the same opinions. Out of the whole, like 10 to 12, they have up to 15 spaces for 15 homes in that show. I think when we were on, they had 12 homes filled. So there's always room for more or less. It really depends, I think, on the compatibility with the show. But I remember the EP executive producer saying, everyone, maybe 95% of you all say the same thing. And then you've got that one house that will be in the complete opposite, which is mostly Mick and Di, the older art collecting couple. But the rest of us, because we'd be like, why? We just said that. Why did Adam and Simon get shown saying that? And poor EP would have to say to us, oh, God, girls, everyone says it. It's whoever says it the best. Yeah. You all have the same reactions to things.
Speaking of that,
can
Evie,
I ask?
one of the things that, sorry, Ben, one of the things that really surprised me was Foxtel's reaction to yourself and Angie leaving. Were you surprised by their negative reaction to that?
Yeah, at the time, well, it happened while we were inside the jungle, so we didn't know. We had to come out and be told. So it was really disappointing. It was hurtful, but completely understandable. I think they lost a huge, I mean, is commodity a word? I think they lost a huge a house of talent, and they knew it. And I wish they'd been, I think they are supportive. But you'd really have to ask them why they were like that. I can only assume things that they lost us.
It was just
and
crazy.
They found us.
It was crazy because you guys were one of the things that made people want to watch that show. And yes, it's disappointing to lose cast members, but they seem to take it so personally at Foxtel. I was just really surprised.
Yeah, I think because we were one of the first to go. They've lost since, and completely supportive. I think they are quietly supportive of us. I mean, they made us, so they should be proud of us. But yeah, I think at the time it was just maybe they took it personally, and it wasn't personal at all.
Well, Evie, I'm a big fan of yours, and I am surprised that, to be honest, I'm surprised you haven't got a breakfast radio gig. I heard you over summer with Grant Daniel. You did a fabulous job. You filled in for Fifi Box. You've done some amazing work. Where would you like to go to when the executives finally realise your true talent?
Oh, look, I'm pretty easy, as they say. I'd love like a breakfast show or a radio show or something like that. Something, maybe new, something completely different that is really creatively inspiring would be great, where I can be myself, not really run to the shackles of, I don't know, maybe a YouTube show or something. I don't know, but you never know. I will take pretty much anything that comes my way. You will learn that.
Well, yeah, you're
except
easy, look,
except for Dancing with the Stars. I won't do that.
I did jump in.
I want to ask you a question about that. I want to ask you a question. Okay. Who would have been a better dancer? Do you reckon you would have been a better dancer than Angie, or do you reckon that she did a pretty good job?
She was amazing. I was so impressed with her. I know she danced as a child. So she did have a bit of background dancing, but I mean, we've only daggy danced with each other, and as she said, self-professed Bambi on skates. So I think she did a really, really good job, much better than I would have done. I can bust a move, but I have bad knees, so I can bust a move, and that's it. I'm done.
You might have busted an kneecap and not been able to finish the series. The other question I have for you is, I have it on good authority that you are a very talented actress. And I believe, is this rumour true? Did you nearly get cast on Please Like Me, only to lose out to a role to Denise Drysdale. Is that a rumour or is that true?
No, that's true.
Oh my God.
That was years
Oh, wow.
ago. Yeah, my friend was the EP on that show, and he saw this character that he said, it's basically you. So would you come in and read for it? And I was like, yeah, why not? So I read for it, and everyone, the director, the casting director, him, the EP, everyone was happy with me, wanted me. But Josh, it is his show, and he wanted Denise. He said it was her role to lose, and it came down to me and her. Apparently, I've worked with her on Studio 10. You know, I've never told her that, and I don't know if I should.
Well, we'll be.
Well, I
sure
think you
to
should.
Yeah.
The last question
but
I have
if you're
for
gonna
you
lose
is
out
just
21,
really.
If you're going to lose out to anyone, she's the one. But yes, one more question because
Ding
we do
dong.
have to get to the ticker newsroom.
Yes, okay.
Last question I have for you is have you got any tips for anyone at home with COVID-19? Like, what's your secret to keeping sane? Because you're keeping pretty sane, I can see.
Yeah, I do have a really good, it's not so much a secret, it's called wine. And you can get it pretty much anywhere. You can buy it at pubs, you can buy it at clubs, you can buy it at your local shops, mate. You can get it anywhere you want. I'm going to drink some tonight and give my dog a haircut.
Excellent.
Amazing.
You can come back anytime you like. We love
Thank
talking to you, and
you.
I would love to talk to you for much longer. I'm sure there's lots of showbiz stories to get out of you. You are an absolute legend. Thank you for being
Give me
with
that
us on
and
the
you'll get
Ben,
more.
Rob and
You're
Robbo
welcome.
show. That brings us to the end of today's episode. Ben and Robbo, thank you very much. Evie, once again, such a delight. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. as we stream live around the world.
It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo show.